What's up guys, it's Dorothy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to go into chapter 20 of Dead Girls Can't Tell Secrets by Chelsea Achaso. We are almost done with this book. We've got 18 chapters left to read. So let's get right into this video. This video may contain sensitive topics and foul language. If you do not wish to continue, please click off of the video now. You have been warned. Chapter 20. The chirping of the birds blares louder than a jackhammer on a Saturday morning as realization sets in, and there's no sound at all as everyone stares silently at the metal link resting in JC's palm. I try to step forward, but the gravel slides beneath my sneaker. The others' movements are slow and distorted. Noah standing and leaning in to get a better look. Alexandra staring. Tyler backing away. Then sound bursts back into existence. JC gasping, the snap of a twig beneath Tyler's boot. My feet find solid ground again. I hurry forward, plucking the chain link from JC's hand and turning on Tyler, holding the metal piece out in front of him. Why are you out here, you sick freak? Are you stalking us? Tyler's face is stoic. I was the only person stalking by your definition. You followed them up here, same as me. Yeah, well, you're the only one whose little ornament was found on the mountain where my sister fell. My stomach hardens. I knew there was something off about him. Is it a crime to drop something? It is here. You don't live in Grayling's Pass or go to Grayling High, so why are you even up at this viewpoint? Tyler shrugs, and Noah moves closer to him, spine rigid and shoulders back. Tell us. I march toward him with my fist balled, even though he's a foot taller than me, and Alexander grabs at the back of my jacket. Just calm down, Savannah. Tyler steps back, prodding a spider web strung from the railing to a nearby branch with his toe on his boot. His calmness only makes my fury rise. The chain link isn't mine. I don't have the patience for this. I hold the link up beside the chain straight from Tyler's belt loop. Nobody but you dresses like they might have to prepare for a vehicle for snowy conditions at any moment. Cross my heart, hope to die. He puts a hand on his chest. I press closer, fist still clenched, sneakers squishing over a spongy bed of moss. It was Piper's. My insides go cold. Tyler's grin is subtle, but it's not enough to make Noah take that swing off on my behalf. Noah's fist strikes him in the jaw behind me. Alexander yelps, and I straighten as Tyler tips backward. He regains his balance, brushing the red spot with his fingers as Noah rubs his knuckles. JC's mouth is parted in awe. Nice one, I mutter, before turning to Tyler's hunched figure. You don't know anything about my sister. That's where you're wrong. Tyler moves his jaw around, pressing his fingers to it delicately. He cuts an irritated glance at Noah, who backs up a few paces. I know Piper more than you know her. She's been my closest friend since last year. She kept one of the chain links in her pocket. He reddens. She likes to joke that it's our version of a friendship bracelet. Wait a minute. I pace, feet crushing a cluster of wild mushrooms. First of all, that's absurd. Why are you... What are you, 12? Second of all, how do you know Piper? You said you were new to the club. She takes AP classes at Foothill, my school. She never mentioned you to me. I inch toward the railing, glancing at JC, who looks just as lost. He's lying. There's no way Piper has a new best friend she neglected to mention to anyone in her life. Well, she told me all about you, Tyler says, turning to JC. About what a great friend you've been, JC goes crimson. About you, he says, flicking his chin in my direction. About your close relationship. About what you did to JC last year and other things you did. The others look at me and my stomach falls. I shuffle backwards, the gravel grinding beneath my feet until the railing jabs my spine. Noah's gaze bounces around our huddle. I'm lost. I called her, you know, Tyler says. That day, she told me all about what you did to her. My heart performs a sputtering beat. You're Alex. I barely hear my own voice above the wind. Tyler's hands fly up. Guilty. Tyler's my middle name. In real life, I go by my first name, Alex. How? Why did she keep you a secret, I ask. Tyler brushes a hand over his dark clothing. Maybe because as far as Piper's concerned, everything there the three of you touch turns to ash. His gaze drifts to the dense dark woods. This guy is not Piper's friend, says Noah, who's still massaging his sore knuckles. Then how do I know all about you? Tyler asks him. How you loved to toy with her. How she kept holding out hope that all of your mixed messages would eventually lead to something. How you betrayed her. I force my hand to my hip, force the tears back, force the knot in my throat down. That doesn't prove anything. You were the last person to speak to my sister before she fell off this cliff. You were obviously here. I uncurl my fingers, letting the metal flash, and now here you are again trying to cover your tracks. That's why you wrote that threat on our tent, isn't it? You knew we'd figure it out and tell the cops. Go ahead and tell the cops whatever you want, Tyler says, his always friendly eyes narrowing and sending a chill up my spine. They already know about me. What do you mean? Asked Alexandra, still hugging the pink notebook to her chest. I went to the cops. Tyler rubs at his stubble-strewn face. I knew exactly where Piper was before she fell because we spoke on the phone, and then the next morning I find out she supposedly tried to kill herself. It didn't make any sense, so I told the cops they needed to investigate. He runs a hand through his hair, and they didn't. Where was Piper before she fell? Alexandra asked timidly. She went to talk to Mr. Davis. My head feels tight, my lips, tongue, everything goes numb. Why? Alexandra asks. Tyler's gaze snaps to mine. You want to tell them, or should I? She went to tell Mr. Davis the truth, didn't she? I can't feel my mouth as the words come out about what I did. A small bitter laugh escapes Tyler's lips. If that's what you really think, then you don't know your sister at all. His words are sharp and my breath catches. I fall back against the cold rail, letting myself slide down to the ground. My injured finger brushes the earth. The pain vibrates up my arm. Piper went there to do exactly what I asked her to do. She went there to confess. My lungs feel like they're about to burst. Everyone's hovering, staring at me. What's going on, Savannah? Noah asks, reaching down to help me up. I try to push him off. I don't deserve his help. Not this time, not ever. But my arm won't obey my brain. I shut my eyes and draw in the slightest amount of air until the drowning sensation lets up. I got Piper in trouble. Big trouble. My breath is shallow, my vision foggy as I tell them about the tournament, the grades, the money, everything. I heard the car and I thought she was headed to the lab to tell my parents, but then she never came home. Later that night, we got the call from the hospital. Even JC gapes at me like I'm a monster, and I am, saying it all aloud, listening to what I was willing to do to get what I wanted. I know, I deserve whatever is coming. That day, when I was too selfish to do the right thing, I let the darkness in me climb up my core, coat my throat, and wrap myself around my brain. I wasn't a sister. I wasn't even a friend. I was the darkness. But she didn't go to the lab, Tyler says. She didn't go to the point right away either. I don't know why. Maybe she figured out the meeting wasn't happening, or maybe it was the last thing on her mind after being suspended for the chemistry tests. She went back to the school to talk to Mr. Davis. She was planning to take the fall for everything. Why would she do that? Noah asks. Because she's the sister I'll never be. Tyler shakes his head. I tried to talk her out of it. That's why I called her. But she said she needed to do it and that I had to trust her, and I did for a while. But the way she was letting Savannah use her was too much, so I called her again. When she didn't answer, I drove to the school to see if I could get her to listen to reason. By that point, her car was already gone, and I didn't want to upset her more if it was already done, so I went home. He tugs on the strings of his hoodie, stretching them until they look like they might snap. I should have tried harder to find her. So then, Noah says, she went to the school first and then to the point because she was so upset. That's what I was trying to figure out. Tyler paces, boots crushing, something feathery fawns. I went to the police station and spoke to a cop, Detective Burslow. I told him something was off. Piper was upset Piper was upset about what Savannah did, but that wasn't suicidal. It doesn't make sense. She called me from outside Mr. Davis's office. So how did she get from there to being unconscious on the side of a mountain? What did Burslow say? I asked. He basically laughed in my face, but the weird thing is why he laughed. It wasn't because Piper had fallen from Suicide Point. It was because I mentioned Mr. Davis. Burslow seemed very familiar with our favorite club advisor. He didn't find that situation the slightest bit worrisome. Did you try talking to Mr. Davis? JC asked, grabbing on the railing to pull herself up. Her eyes shut momentarily as she sways, panting, brushing a fern bejeweled by dewdrops. Then she steadies herself. Did you ask if Piper went to see him that day? Sorry, my husband needed something. Did you ask if Piper went to see him that day? I didn't want to show my hand, Tyler says. Figured I'd learn a lot more about him if he thought I was just some kid from Foothill who's really into wilderness survival. You're saying you infiltrated our club to spy on Mr. Davis? JC flashes an incredulous look. Mr. Davis is a great teacher. He cares about his students. Look, I really wish to find out what happened to Piper too, but Mr. Davis didn't write the threat in Piper's bag, or she waves a hand toward the cliff. do something to her. If that's what you're thinking, you're wrong. Maybe he's not, Alexandra says. Sunlight casts a honey-colored glow over her dark curls as she glances up from the little pink notebook she's clutching. JC turns to her and Alexandra bites her lip, but she loosens the hold on the notebook. I'm on the school paper with Piper. You guys all claim to know her, but every one of you was missing the most obvious thing ever about Piper, about this club. So then say it already. I might snatch the notebook and fling it off the cliff. Why did Piper join this club, she asks. Because Noah was in it, JC says, brushing some dirt off the front of her sweatshirt. Alexandra shakes her head. Maybe that was part of it, but it wasn't the only reason. She joined because she's Mr. Davis's pet, I offer. She never stops talking about him. Alexandra flicks her pen against her chin. Not good enough. Why did she join a club involving all things she hates? Exercise in the outdoors, for example. Noah rubs his temple. She said she wanted to try something new. Piper develops a new interest all the time. Piper wasn't pursuing a new interest, Alexandra says, looking exhausted. The wind picks up, hurling her curls into disarray and whipping the scent of wildflowers into the air. She was pursuing a story. Noah lifts a brow. Like for the Grayling High Gazette? She wouldn't have kept that a secret. She might have, if the story put her in danger. Whatever Piper was investigating, she didn't even tell the other editors about it. She probably knew no one would approve. Exhaustion has melted my brain, so much that I giggle. Piper was investigating Survival Club, like the case of the missing canteen. Not the club itself, Alexandra corrects. Someone in the club. I suspected she was working on something secret a while ago. She was always distracted during journalism meetings, jotting down notes and whispering into the recorder of hers, but she refused to tell me what it was. At first I thought she was worried I'd steal her idea or something, like what she'd done to me. Her eyes darkened. Things have always been competitive between us. Well, one day Piper tore a page out of her notepad and crumpled it up. A small animal darts through the underbrush next to the path, and Alexandra flinches. She drops her voice like the chipmunks are listening. After everyone went home, I dug it out of the trash. Most of the writing was scratched out and scribbled over, but a couple of things were still legible, just barely, like SC. So I asked myself, why would Piper have to write encrypted notes for a school story? Or go undercover for a school story, for that matter, Noah adds. Because it wasn't some school story, Alexandra says, gaining momentum. I think Piper was investigating something bigger, a story someone would have threatened her over to make sure she'd stop poking around, and when that didn't work, her gaze glides over to the cliff. This person resorted to other means, Tyler finishes. But what does this have to do with Mr. Davis? JC asks. Alexandra tugs a creased and crumpled scrap of paper from her back pocket. When Savannah came to me in the gym talking about Piper being threatened, the wheels in my head started spinning. Sorry, he needed something again. But what does this have to do with Mr. Davis, JC asks. Alexandra tugs a creased and crumpled scrap of paper from her back pocket. When Savannah came to me in the gym talking about Piper being threatened, the wheels in my head started spinning. I ran back to my locker to grab that note I dug out of the trash so I could try and figure out what Piper was working on, and I'm almost positive I've pieced together one thing. She thrusts a scrap at me, and the others gather around me to peek at it. Letters strung together like an equation are circled in pencil among all the scribbles. BS equals danger. Noah slings JC a wary glance. BS is definitely concerning. Alexandra frowns. Before this weekend, I thought these initials belonged to a person, but no one in the club fit. Sam's last name is Eldridge, so even reversed, it wasn't a match. But yesterday, I realized something about the advisor and one of the members, about their lives outside the club. Remember the rumors going around last winter that one of our athletics teams had suddenly gone from last place in their division to champs, and it wasn't because they recruited a new star player or doubled up on training sessions. Boys soccer, I mutter, kicking a behind cone. Though the school treated Mr. Davis like a god after that achievement, the league gave him a hard time. The accusations ranged from bribing refs to paying other coaches to throw games, but nothing was ever proven. Exactly. Alexandra grins like a proud parent. Last year, Piper asked a journalism advisor if she could write a story about it, but he said that kind of piece had no place in student-run paper. She lets this thought simmer for a beat. So what if Piper decided to go rogue and do it anyway? What better place to find answers about a possible scandal involving boys soccer than Survival Club? You've got the senior team captain as the coat and the coach in one place. The words tumble through my brain, getting stuck before I can fully process them, like a squirrel trying to make it through a cluster of tree branches. Piper loves Mr. Davis. She would never pursue a story that would hurt him, but the last place she headed was his office. That is the end of this chapter. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.